So, where's your listing appointment?
It's 101 Francis in the city of Buffalo.
Okay, cool. What price range is it? Yeah. So I graduated from college in 1990, and at the time it was the worst year since World War II to get a job. And as you can imagine, there weren't a lot of opportunities for me. I got offered a lot of sales jobs because I've always been a gregarious person, but I realized that sales wasn't for me, and I had to look back 2 years. I took a job as an insurance salesman, for lack of a better term. You need to be licensed to sell the type of insurance it was. It was more like a benefits program for people, and I had to pick the phone up and call people I didn't enjoy. I actually only sold one policy, and I remember Mr. Willie coming in and saying, "Hey, you don't really like this, do you?" And I said, "No." He says, "Well, I'm sorry, you got to go." So anyway, so that was kind of a primer for me to make me start realizing kind of where I was at the time, if that makes any sense. So, my parents were also very, very consistency-driven people. Get a job, get benefits, get a salary, because that's what they had done all their life. So I took a job in the mutual fund industry, and I worked there for about 9 years. And then what had happened is as I was there, I got exposed to some personal development materials and professional speaking training, and I was on the phone a lot from a customer service perspective. And so I ended up learning a lot about myself and overcoming a lot of the sales call reluctance that I had. And then it was interesting because in 1998, I got my real estate license, and over the next 14 months, I sold 72 houses. And interestingly enough, I had clients who would not get on the phone, and I couldn't figure out why.
Yeah.
And I was like, how come you're not? They get on the phone. I'm like, hey, how'd you do in your prospecting this week? Well, I didn't get it done. How come? I had other things to do, or I don't want to bother people, or I just don't feel comfortable with it, or I hate cold calling, or all the standard excuses you hear from people, And so a couple of years ago, I kind of had a rock bottom moment myself for my own life. And a lot of the things that I hadn't resolved from my childhood really started rearing their ugly head. I've had a binge eating disorder since I was about 6 years old. And, I was sexually abused when I was 10. And then when I was 11, I started looking at pornography. And then when I was 12, I started having sex regularly, and was also bullied the entire time. So by the time I was 13, I really had no self-worth. I had low self-esteem. I really wasn't comfortable with myself. And then I kind of set on a path of self-destruction for a long time after that. I've probably blown about $4 million over since I got out of college. And I ruined a relationship with my ex-wife. I was unfaithful many times. I spent a year in federal prison between 2013 and 2014 because of mail fraud. And I've hurt a lot of people along the way, made a lot of bad choices. And so I've lived most of my life with guilt and shame and really didn't like myself. And so what I discovered in working through things for myself is that I kind of realized that people who don't like prospecting and don't want to get on the phone usually had something happen when they were a child. Either it was some sort of trauma, that makes sense, like they were physically abused, emotionally abused, sexually abused, or they had parents that were like, our family, nothing good ever happens to our family. You're not going to, don't worry about it, don't even try. Or they made an observation in their own mind. We call them hidden identities, where they literally created in their own mind a belief system about themselves not to be true based on something that somebody said. I have a client who's a perfectionist, and one day she went to gym class and the kids made fun of her for the shoes that she wore. And from that day on, she felt like she had to be perfect when she left the house and look perfect when she left the house. So they couldn't find anything bad out about her. Another client had a new friend moved in the neighborhood, went over the house for 3 days, and on the third day, the kid's older brother said, "Hey, listen, you don't have to come over here like every day. You just don't have to come over." And so today, at the age of 52, he feels like he's bothering people. Okay, so what I've been seeing in people is, hey, listen, there's a problem that happened when you were younger, and you've basically, like a seed, you planted that seed and you've been watering it and tending to it and everything since whenever it happened. And so you've built up this block in your head. And sometimes it comes out as emotional problems, like, people get nervous, or they get, they're worried about what's going to happen, what people are thinking about them, sweaty pits, sweaty hands, dry mouth. Some people over-prepare, the over-prepare. Everything's got to be perfect. I've got to look perfect. I got to understand everything before I get out there. And some people just have like a total mental block, like they're just completely emotionless about it. And so they just don't even do it. But the fact of the matter is literally, and I'm not kidding you, like literally, as soon as they find out what cause was and then do some work around it, it'll be gone for good. And that's the amazing thing that I found out. So that's what I've been spending a lot of time with lately with people who go through my classes is, hey, Let's find out what it is, because awareness is the biggest issue, right? You can't solve a problem you don't know exists. So they become aware, and then I teach them how to deal with the emotions that come up when they happen. And then we create a new belief system and we kind of rewire their brain about how they can be. And some people's call reluctance has gone away in as quickly as 3 weeks.
So probably going to be about 160-ish.
Nice. So that's like that should be a nice easy one for you. Although the price really doesn't matter, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if somebody's selling a $100,000 house or $1 million house. They still want somebody who is capable, somebody who does marketing for them, somebody who's going to take good care of them. I mean, granted, how you'd approach that would be differently, but at the end of the day, you still have to be an expert and have people, buy into you as the right person for the job,
Correct.
Lately, since I started my new business, definitely people have been starting to show up in my life that are having issues with not getting what they want. It's interesting because I believe deep down we all want good things for ourselves. I mean, I don't know anybody that wakes up in the morning and says, geez, I wish I could be average today. I want to be mediocre, Everybody wants to do well. Tony Robbins talks about happiness. He says, one of the main ingredients of happiness is feeling like you're fulfilled, feeling like you're growing every day. And so I see people all the time that are looking at real estate agents that, have the life that they want. We talk about the 3 freedoms: the time freedom, the money freedom, the location freedom, right? And I believe everybody wants that. Having sold so much coaching, the one thing that is common from all the real estate agents that I've spoken with is that everybody wants to become the true CEO of their business. They want a business where if they show up, that's great. But if they don't show up, it'll still run without them and they'll make money. So I believe that's at the essence, the core for just about every real estate agent out there. So the 2 challenges for people are, number one, a lot of folks don't know how to get there, right? They don't know the path. And so as a coach and a trainer, I'm able to take people from wherever they are to where they want to go from over the last 20 years. But more importantly, if they have personal issues and challenges that they're not able to deal with, I can dig in there and say, okay, let's fix this. Let's make this problem go away so that you can go ahead and get where you want to be. There's a real estate agent in Greenville, South Carolina, and his name is Brian O'Neill, and he's also a full-time firefighter. He's 42 years old and married, has a kid, has another one on the way. And so, this guy has, he's got these big tribal tattoos on his arms, and, he goes in and out of burning buildings all day long, and like burning, going in, coming out, going back in. He said he's saved people's lives right there on the sidewalk. And, he said he's done some really crazy stuff. And so I was like, all right, this guy's going to crush it. So we're talking, and, usually it's about 90 days or so of getting their business dialed in, getting a foundation set. And so we're kind of ending the first quarter of things together. I said, listen, we got to start getting on the phone and making some calls. He's like, no way. I go, what do you mean no way? He says, I can't get on the phone. I was like, what? I'm like, dude, you're walking into burning buildings all day long. You're like carrying people out of your arms. You're saving lives. He said, I can't get on the phone. I said, okay. I said, that's what we got to do. And so I started taking him through. It's kind of like a 5-step process. And I started taking him through it. And in 45 days, his sales call reluctance was gone. And his first round of calls, he called a FSBO and he got a $500,000 listing from it. And the guy sold his house and then gave him another house to sell because he did such a good job. So the first step is awareness, right? You can't overcome a problem. You can't fight a challenge that you don't know exists. So I teach people how to go ahead and find out what it is that's creating that sales call reluctance, procrastination, self-sabotage, those avoidance strategies that people engage in that are keeping them from getting their business to the next level. The biggest challenge people are having, a lot of it has to do with like what their parents did to them. And here's the thing, I think as parents, I think everybody has good intentions. It's just that a lot of folks don't know how to help their kids. They don't know how to encourage their children, all the way back, like, two generations ago, you didn't behave, you got smacked. You know what I'm saying? Children should be seen and not heard. And so what happens is a lot of people hear things from their parents, or they get emotionally abused or physically abused or sexually abused or whatever. And so they create these beliefs about themselves that they're no good. Right, because we look to our parents for affirmation. We look to them for security, for love, for guidance. And when your parents are the source of the trauma and the pain, where do you go? And so all of a sudden, we create this situation where, whatever happens, and either we lash out, right? Or we fold up, we fold in. And the people who have sales call reluctance, we turn into puddles. I turned into a puddle. I wouldn't put myself in any way, shape, or form where I could get hurt, embarrassed, thought of negatively, or anything like that. And then basically we just reinforce it our entire lives. We continue to avoid challenges. We continue to avoid confrontation. We continue to avoid the things that are going to cause us pain. And then when it's time for us to get on the phone and start calling, our natural reaction is to not put ourselves in those situations, even though calling somebody on the phone is harmless. I know anybody that's died prospecting, bled, lost hair, broken bones, but yet the fear of what people can think of us, the embarrassment, potential shame, that's enough because it's tied back into that problem. So really, the first step is where's it coming from? Let's talk about where it's coming from. Step number 2 is defining and identifying what it is, right? Rick Carson calls it taming your gremlin. He's got a great book called Taming Your Gremlin. And basically he says we have this gremlin inside of us that is that voice that says, oh, you know what? Let's not put ourselves out there. Let's not do this. This is not what we do. Let's not make changes. And that's why, you know, a lot of times when people put a calendar together or they go to the gym or they decide to make a change, because they haven't gone and done the work inside, soon enough that voice comes back up and says, oh, wait a second, this isn't us. You're happy? No, we're happy where we are. We don't need to change. We don't need to look any better. We're good with, you know, things the way that they are, right? So what happens is we need to, once we're aware of what happens, and this is the amazing thing, Kimberly, is that once we're aware, the thoughts will start, like a lot of times we don't even recognize the emotions and the feelings and the thoughts that come into our head when it comes time to do something like prospect, right? They just happen so quickly. We're so used to it, we ignore it. But once you're aware, you can feel that feeling come up, right? And so basically what I teach them to do is they'll say when that feeling comes up, you go and you grab it and you go, okay, what am I feeling right now? I'm feeling anxious. Where does this anxiety come from? Okay, it comes from this. Okay, and then is what that is true? Right? Is it true that I'm no good? Is it true that I'm not worthy? Is it true that I'm not, you know, whatever? Well, no, it's not. And then, so that leads us to the third step, which is being mindful. Right? I don't know if you know much about mindful meditation, but being mindful means you're just in the present. You're not worrying about the past and what happened. You're not thinking about what's happening in the future, right? Because if we look back at all the bad things that happen, we get depressed. And if we look at the future and realize there's so much out of our control, we get anxious. But if I'm present and I just stay here in the moment and just take some breaths and relax, 9 times out of 10, that feeling is just going to go away. And so what I do is I teach people to learn how to become mindful, and they go through mindfulness meditation practice. It's a great website, and it's also the same name on YouTube. It's called the Mindful Movement. And they have these, you can start with 5 minutes and they give you like 5-minute mindful meditations that teach you how to focus on your breathing and control your brain. Because this is all about controlling your emotions and not letting your emotions get over on you, know? So we become mindful, and then we realize, you know, that things aren't as painful as they are. And then we get to the step 4, which is basically rewiring our brain. So basically we engage in activities, and you know, I like what Hal Elrod has done with the Miracle Morning. He calls them their savers. So I have people, you know, dig into what Hal teaches about understanding what you need to do every morning. Build that morning ritual where you're doing affirmations and you're exercising and you're journaling and you're visualizing and you're doing all these things that are really beneficial to you. And essentially we're rewiring your brain now, because you're telling yourself, instead of telling yourself all day long that I'm useless or I'm a piece of crap, you say, listen, I am a good salesperson, or I am worthy of good things happening to me, or pretty much the opposite of what you've been telling yourself all your life. And so once we start engaging in those activities, I see, you know, it's because it's like we first start and people are like this, and then as soon as they start doing what they're supposed to do every morning, like their confidence goes up. I mean, I can literally see the changes in their faces around week 4. I can literally see their faces. They come in, they're smiling, you know, they share their good news. It's crazy, you know, or they'll text me and they'll be like, you know, I just made a call today. I made 5 calls today, and I set an appointment and I didn't even think about it, you know, so it's great.
If you like this interview you're watching and you want to see more like this one, make sure you hit the subscribe button for the Prospecting Today YouTube channel. And
so the last part is figuring out what they want, what drives them, and then actually defining what their why is. A lot of people are like, I don't know what my why is. What's my why? You know, why am I doing this, you know? And a lot of people confuse, like, my children are my why. You know, getting a new house is my why. My car is my why. Making $1 million is my why. You know, those are all whats, right? Your why is something you can impact, something you can actually change. So for me, like, I don't want my kids to ever go through what I went through in my life, ever, right? So my why is to make sure I get my butt out of bed every day and take care of myself, which I'm working very hard on, and then make sure that I do the best job I can every day to be a good dad, be conscious as a father, and make sure that they know that they are worthy, make sure they know they're protected, teach them how to use money properly, right? Let them know that they don't need anybody else to make them feel loved or worthwhile, you know, and just tell them every day that I'm proud of them just for the people that they are. I say this to them all the time. I'm like, you are good enough just where you are as you stand, having to change nothing. Because nobody ever said that to me. And so I want them to know that. So that's, and in order to be able to do that, I'm building a business that will allow me to have the finances to be able to make sure that I can take care of them and make sure that they know they're going to be safe for a long period of time. And so that drives me, you know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. And so I help people find out what their real why is. We come up with a list of all the things you want to be, do, or have. And then we talk about what drives us. And then we go, okay, so what's your why? And so and that's at the end of 6 weeks. And the 7th week, we spend a whole hour and a half on how to be good on the phone. So scripts and dialogues, the things you need to do that are not necessarily words, and the things that are related to words, and how to put yourself in position to be successful in getting on the phone. So basically for the last 6 weeks, we've been getting to the point where you can get on the phone. Now let's talk about how to be good on the phone. And so it's a 7-week class. And so, and if it doesn't work for them as much as they want to, they can go to the next class for free. So I've had a couple people go a second round and have had amazing results in the second class. In the event that something happens like with Hank, when Hank and his wife, we got a bunch of stuff to do and, let's just hold off, and then they drag their feet for weeks, try and, if for some reason they need time for something, I don't know, post-date the listing agreement or, try and work.
What I got is I learned my lesson from that, us talking about it last time. Is that right now I carry with every listing packet that I put together now, I put in here in Buffalo, they want you to have a delayed showing
Perfect.
Addendum.
Perfect.
So you do the listing and then you just put everything as a delayed showing.
Right. That's good, because, you're such a good guy and you do such a great job, and I'd hate for you to put all that time and energy and then have some other, knucklehead come in and get the listing when you're going to do the best job for them. It's interesting. I think it was April 13th of 1995 is when the internet actually officially hit the ground. And that's when the World Wide Web took off. And I don't know if you remember that, but everybody was saying, oh, we'll never sell another thing over the phone. We'll never meet another salesperson. We're going to sell everything over the internet, right? No, it'll never happen. Certain industries got hammered, insurance, legal things, what else? I was just going to say travel agencies, right? It's just crazy, right? So, still gone. But the fact of the matter is you still need to get on the phone and make phone calls. Even today, sell a house, sell a car, sell many things, even if, because, real estate is only one business where that comes into play. There's businesses all over the world that use the phone still today. We've been using the phone for prospecting since the early 1900s, which is crazy. Now, look, you still have to be able to be on the internet. You still have to have a social media presence. You still need to connect with people, build a relationship with them, right? You still need rapport. You still need credibility. You still need authority. All great things that you can do on the internet for no money. But at the end of the day, even if you get somebody to raise their hand, you still have to call them and say, let's get together, and give them a compelling reason to meet with you, and then get them to show up and actually get them to, as they said, as Alec Baldwin said in Glengarry Glen Ross, a sign on the line which is dotted, right? So we still have to get them to come meet with us and still have to make a presentation to them and still give enough value so that they're going to want to choose us over the competition. And it all starts on the phone. It doesn't start on the phone. The beginning of that part of the sales process starts on the phone, right? Yeah. You can email people all day long. You can text people all day long, and you can get to know you, right? But in order to get somebody to want to work with you, you have to get on the phone and say, hey, listen, this is why we need to get together, right? I'm going to help you, find a house and save a lot of money. I'm going to get you the most amount of money for your home, right? I'm going to do it faster, easier, cheaper, better, whatever it is that their hot button is. And it all starts on the phone with having them come in so I can show them how I can do that. Repetition is the mother of skill. And to a certain extent, Kimberly, there are other types of sales call reluctance that aren't necessarily tied to emotional issues, if that makes any sense. For a lot of people, it's they don't understand the value that they bring to the table. They're not comfortable in what to say, when to say it, how to say it. And, they're worried about the outcome of the phone call before they even got on the phone. So for those folks, it's a matter of just, the repetition, getting on the phone, making the phone calls, training with other people who are more skilled than they are, role playing. A lot of people hate role playing, but that's like the gateway. That's like football practice, baseball practice, baking 100 cakes before you make your best cake, practicing your instrument 2 hours a day. It's all the same thing, right? Golfers hitting ball after ball after ball after ball at the driving range. So that's where the rubber meets the road. And so Is it game speed? No. Is it exactly how things are going to happen on the phone? No. But, you've got to build that, how can I explain this, that muscle memory, right? The same part of our brain that where we store muscle memory for golf swings and kicks of soccer balls and baseball swings and basketball shots is the same part of the brain where we go ahead and store the muscle memory for what we're supposed to say, when we're supposed to say it, and how to say it. That internalization where somebody gives you an objection that says, hey, I'm going to work with my cousin, and your first question is okay, I can appreciate that. Are you working with your cousin because you think they're going to do the best job for you, or because you want to help them out, right? So it's that sort of thing. We should be able to, you can bring it up like that. And so for folks who don't have the emotional component and they want to be good on the phone, so they've got to practice, they've got to get good, they've got to be humble enough to realize they don't know everything, right? And then, they've got to get on the phone and actually do it. And then you can't care about the outcome. You just can't be attached to the outcome, right? Because if you do the math, and you say, I've got to talk to this many people to get one appointment, I've got to get this many appointments to get one client, and this many clients to get one sale. It's just a mathematical equation at that point. And the great news is that the more you get on the phone, the more successful you are. You've got to talk to fewer people to get to get the same number of appointments or better appointments, and you need fewer appointments to get the same number of clients, and then the same number of clients to get the same number of sales, or fewer clients to get the same number of sales. Yeah. Right? So it's just a product of, and because you're going to get better if you continue to do it. There's a guy, you ever heard of the Be-Back Bus? There's a guy named Jim Casey. He's a real estate agent in California, but he used to represent a CRM company, and he used to call it the Be-Back Bus. And he said the Be-Back Bus is the only bus on the face of the planet that never makes it back to its original destination, right? Because you're talking with somebody, and then you're like, okay, you're not ready to list it. Okay, I'll be back. And then the next thing you know, you can never get those people on the phone. You can't hunt them down. They don't respond to emails. And then one day you're driving by their house, and somebody else's sign is in their front lawn, right? So, once you leave the house, all bets are off, right? So. Anyway, I just don't want, and listen, you've done a great job, and we listed 4 houses last week alone. So it's not about that. It's just about, doing everything you can legally, ethically, and morally without putting somebody in a headlock to get that paperwork signed, The agents who are doing the best in a market like this are the ones that have built their businesses over time, and they've got a huge database that they've been cultivating and taking care of. And so if their prospects or their past clients are going to respond to anybody, it's going to be them, I think, as I was just talking about this the other day with somebody, I forget who it was. But, as an industry, the real estate business is completely stuck on Now Business. But Now Business actually represents such a small percentage of the business that's out there, right? The average internet-driven lead for buyers is 4 to 6 months away from buying a home. The minute somebody says, hey, I think I want to sell my home, they're 11 months to 14 months away from actually pulling the trigger. And even when they say, hey, I want to know the value of my home, in most cases, they're still 6 to 8 months away. So even when somebody raises their hand, you talk to them, you still have to connect them and build that relationship and again, connect with them, build a rapport, build that credibility, build that authority, become, the world champ at solving whatever problem they have to the point where they wouldn't want to do business with anybody else. But that takes time. So, and I think this is good. The byproduct of doing that is that you're still going to trip across some Now Business. If you circle prospect now and start talking with people, you're going to find somebody who still wants to sell. But at the same time, you're building a pipeline because you figure real estate's a 90-day cycle on average, give or take, unless it's a crappy market like it was in the Great Recession. But 90 days on average. So whatever's happening today is a result of what you did 90 days ago, right? So I think that if people would just make the commitment to build relationships, to get to know people, and start just filling the pipeline with here, everybody's going to move down. Every day they move closer. And then at some point, you're always going to have somebody to talk to who wants to buy or sell a home. Does that make sense? Whether it's now or, because now you've got a pipeline of people that you've been talking with that know who you are, that are going to pick up the phone when you call them, right? And so then you don't have to worry about finding Now Business because you've done such a good job of building that pipeline of opportunities.
We'll probably have like a blizzard here in Buffalo with 6 foot of snow, and I go, Wally, I ain't getting more phone calls and nobody's calling me.
Oh my God, then you just go and snowball their driveway and ask them if you can list their home while you're done. I'm going to move you to Florida so you don't have to ever have another problem with snow.
No, Carolinas. I don't like Florida.
Oh, my bad. Gotcha. All right, man. Well, good luck on your appointment. Let me know how it goes, all right?
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Bye, buddy. Thanks.
Okay.
Bye-bye. If you're going to be a real estate agent in a year, you need to prospect today, right? If you want to be here next year, you still have to prospect today, right? If you want to be a real estate agent in 6 years, you still have to prospect today. So there's always a reason to get on the phone. The other thing is even though houses are going into agreement, some of them are falling through because buyers are getting they're getting scared. They have buyer's remorse because they said, I'm going to pay $60,000 more for a home. And they go and put their head down on their pillow. They're like, oh my God, what the heck did we do? Then we're taking all of our cash out of the bank and we're putting it down to buy a house. What happens if it doesn't work out? So they bail from the deal, and so the seller's got to go back on the market. Sometimes they're not happy with their agent. You know, we're starting to see a bit of a slowdown now here too, and at some point foreclosures are going to be coming. At some point, you know, the eviction moratorium is going to be over. There's going to be a lot of, you know, and as soon as both moratoriums are over, you know, there's going to be lots of people who can't afford their home. You know, whether they're investors or, you know, they're, you know, homeowners. And so you got to start talking to those people now too, building relationships with them. I think for new agents, the biggest challenge is them not like getting right after it. Not just, you know, they call it like ignorance on fire. You don't need to know everything. You know, real estate is one of the best industries from the standpoint that you can actually make money while you're practicing, right? The average buyer prospect, about 70, I think it's like almost 80% of them only meet with one real estate agent. And they usually buy from the first person they meet with. Qualifications, the bar is fairly low. Even sellers, you know, it's in the 70s, only meet with one real estate agent. You know, so there's no better way to learn than to get out there and just do it. Right? I mean, you have to role play, you have to practice, you have to know what to say, you got to learn all the contracts and all that stuff, but I can learn how to write a contract while I'm actually writing one. I can find somebody to help me write a contract if I get a listing. Right? I can find somebody to help me write a contract if I have a buyer that wants to buy a home. Right? And I just think that people feel like they have to know so much. And they have to like have all these things in, like ducks in a row so they can go ahead and be successful. And the fact of the matter is you just got to get on the phone and start calling people you know, people you don't know, and find somebody that says, yeah, you can help me buy or sell a house, and then get help from whoever you need to as you grow your skill set. They're implementers. You know, people ask me why, you know, Jay Kinder and Michael Reese were so successful in their businesses, because they asked people what to do and people told them and they went and did it. You know, they did what was told of them. Somebody said, hey, you know, you've got to go ahead and start calling FSBOs and expireds and withdrawals and new circle prospecting. So they did it. You know, when you're going to market and advertise, don't say this in your ad, don't say this in your ad, say this in your ad, put it on this day, spend this much amount of money. And they did it, right? They took action. And that's the biggest challenge, is that people just aren't taking action. So it's kind of the same thing. The biggest mistake is not taking action. The biggest source of success is taking action. Right? And the thing is, I think people want to have all these things in place. They want to spend all this money to build their presence in their marketplace. And what they don't realize is that it takes years to get there. Years. The agents who are selling 300, 400, 500 homes a year, they've been doing it forever. You know what I'm saying? Do it like, you know, since the Great Recession. You know, some of the most successful real estate agents in the market today are agents who either started 08, 07, 08, or were in the business in 07, 08 and fought their way through it and built a great business and know how to sell in any market and build their business in any marketplace. And they have enough money to do all the things that are like second and third level marketing and advertising, right? You have to build up enough money as you're building your business so that you can take your money and invest it into your business a different way, right? The more money you make, the bigger decisions you can make, the better decisions you can make. Everybody wants to run out and hire an admin and an inside sales agent before they have the money to do it. And then they're like, well, you know, the ISA didn't work for me. Yeah, because you didn't have enough business for them, or you couldn't train them, or, you know, you couldn't give them feedback to solve the problem. Or you're paying an administrative assistant and you're still doing all the transaction management and listing management yourself, you know? So there's a progression in which we need to go. And in the beginning, especially the first couple of years, it's literally just rolling up your sleeves and building relationships, you know, prospecting, going to open houses, knocking on doors when you're allowed to knock on doors, joining the Chamber of Commerce and meeting some people, you know, joining another civic organization like the Lions Club or the Kiwanis Club or whatever, calling all your friends, calling people that you know and getting to know them, and just having conversations on a day-over-day basis where eventually opportunities are going to pop up and then you just cultivate them.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not brain surgery, you know, and anybody can do it. Anybody. You know what I'm saying? Some of the most successful real estate agents I know never went to college. You know, you talk to Jay Kinder, I mean, he cut lawns for a living. You know, he'll tell you that he's not the smartest guy. I mean, he's super smart, reads his butt off, but, you know, coming from a place where, you know, you college educated and stuff like that, doesn't matter. So if you're new, you need a cell phone and you need leads. And usually one of the lead sources you're going to get is going to have some sort of a CRM that you can use in the interim. So you're a brand new agent, you go get Vulcan 7, Red X, Mojo Sells, comes with something that helps you keep your leads and your calls, you know, in order and shape. A lot of them have added, you know, some email capabilities, some a little bit more robust, you know. You know, if you want buyer leads, you know, there's companies out there that aren't ridiculously expensive where you can generate leads and have a CRM there. But if you're brand new, that's all you need. You need a phone and you need, you know, leads. And then if you want to, Open up a Facebook page and start, posting and letting people get to know you. Doing some video while you're driving around. Take them to an open house. If you get a listing, show them the house. Post an article about what's going on in the marketplace. Interview somebody that you know that's super successful in an area that impacts homeowners, and just start building that content. But that's it. You don't need anything else in that, because you really don't have a truckload of money to put back in your business. As you get more money, you can get a better CRM that has some other drip campaigns in it, and that has either texting capability or has an AI component to it that'll do the texting for you. And then you can get like a better, bigger buyer lead generation system that actually generates leads and also helps you cultivate and build relationships with them. And then at that point, all bets are off. I mean, there's so many programs out there. Every CRM works, right? Buyer leads all come from the same place. I think that's a big challenge for people. These leads, they're terrible. Buyer leads are generated from one of three places: Facebook, Instagram, or pay-per-click. Right? It's what we do when we get those leads that makes the difference. Now, if you hire somebody to generate leads for you and they're not, they're not putting the best ads out there, they're like, buy a zero down house or buy fixer-uppers and stuff like that, those are going to be a little tough, because a lot of tire kickers, a lot of, people who may not qualify for a loan. But by and large, if you hire a company to generate leads for you, those leads all come from the same place, and you're just going to play the contact game. You just have to do the contents. I mean, internet-driven lead converts about 1% to 3%. Period, end of discussion, for the most part, So, but as you make more money and you start building your business, you can add other layers of technology if you need that. You can go get a virtual assistant somewhere. You can get other systems that do some of your follow-up for you. You can get something like SkySlope, so you can start processing transactions using that, or Lion's Desk, or for compliance and stuff like that. But to get started, a phone and a lead generation source that has some sort of CRM built into it is more than enough. I think there's two things that make a difference. Number one is differentiation. Understanding how to differentiate for yourself from somebody. Having integrity, being nice, taking phone calls, good customer service, that's a minimum requirement. As far as I'm concerned, that should be on the back of everybody's license, because in order to be a good real estate agent, you have to do that. But what's different about you, right? What makes you different? Are you able to get somebody a better savings when they buy a home? Are you able to get somebody more money than anybody else? Are you able to guarantee that somebody can have something good happen for them? What are the things that you do that other people don't do that allows them to have a better real estate experience, to make more money, to get things done faster, to get things done more easily? Or are, even a niche, are you a specialist in new home construction? Are you a specialist in first-time buyers? Are you a specialist in luxury houses, right? I mean, those are the kind of things that make people want to look at you. In many instances, in order for you to be able to differentiate yourself, sometimes you just got to be present on a regular basis, right? The consistency of being there, being on the internet, posting videos, posting content, posting interviews, posting articles, and being there on a consistent basis, right? Robert Cialdini, in his book, Influence, The Power of Persuasion, he lists, 6 things that we need to be super successful in influencing people. One of them is consistency, is showing up every day and telling your story and telling people what you can do to help them. Sometimes that alone is going to help you be different. The other thing is thinking about building a business today rather than when you arrive there. I kind of use vacation for an example. I mean, unless you're crazy like I am, you just don't hop in a car and drive somewhere and go on vacation, right? Or fly. You're like, I'm going to find where we're going. We're going to get the best hotel for the money we're going to spend. We're going to get flights. We're going to get all that stuff. And then we're going to go on vacation. That's how you have to think about your business. You've got to go out 10 years and say, what do I want my life to look like? What do I want my business to look like? And then we reverse engineer back to current day, and we think strategically. We're like, how much money do I have? How much time do I have? How much human capital do I have? And what can I apply today that's going to make my business grow, that's going to still connect it to where I want to be in 10 years, right? And rather than, and there's no priority confusion there. There's no wasted time. There's no wasted money. There's no wasted effort. And then we just work on it day over day over day, continually working towards what's going to happen in the future. And then at the same time, helping people systematically replace themselves in their business so that eventually when they get to where they want to be, they are the true CEO of their business. And they've got administrative staff, and they've got somebody prospecting, they've got buyer agents, they got a listing person, they've got a team manager, right? And so I think, a lot of coaches do a great job of teaching people to become great real estate agents, being great on the phone, doing all the things you need to be a great real estate agent. I think one of the things that I can do and that I do well is giving people the opportunity to actually put a business together and start working towards being able to step away from their business at some point in the future. So the two biggest mistakes that I see real estate agents make, number one, they do not get the best and most that they can out of the investments they make in their business, meaning they generate a lot of leads and they don't call them and prospect them and do as much as they possibly can with them. They let expenses for their business continue to grow and roll up without actually maximizing their effort and results. You know, they'll be like, oh, I had this database for this lead source for 6 months and I got nothing from it. I'm like, well, did you call it regularly? No. Did you email them? Did you text them? No. Okay, so you got to give it 90 days and you got to give it 90 days of heck and see how it comes out. So number one is wasting resources and not putting their full effort into making those resources work the best they can. And the other one is at the end, which is leaving their business too soon. You know, not having enough money in the bank for personal expenses for minimum 3 months, I like 6 months, right? If you go back to the middle, like the deep part of the Great Recession, 2010, we were at 121 days on the market for a house. 4 months plus whatever. So if you have 6 months worth of money in the bank for your personal expenses, 6 months of money in the bank for your business expenses, if for some reason you have to get back in and it's horrible, you have a full business cycle's worth of money to go ahead and do what you need to do so that you're not freaking out and, you know, running around like a chicken with its head cut off. So from that standpoint, this is how do we get from here to here? And really it's you know, we just look at it and say, okay, if you want to hire an administrative assistant, you know, you probably should be doing 2+ deals a month, right? Because you got to keep that person busy. You got to justify keeping them busy, and not only have enough money to pay somebody, you know, $2,000, $3,000 a month based on where you live to take care of transaction management, listing management, customer service, helping with social media stuff, ordering supplies, whatever it is, right? Once you get to that point, now you've taken all this administrative stuff off your plate, you can start doing more prospecting, more business building, right? Because you're not wasting, I think it's about 4 to 5 hours per transaction, what it is to manage a transaction. So you're not wasting all that time anymore. And so now, you know, let's go hire an inside sales agent. If we're around 4 or 5 transactions, you know, you got to have about $12,000 to $15,000 in the bank to cover 4 months worth of salary and lead gen. And then, you know, you can hire that person. And now you're not doing any more administrative work. You're not doing any more prospecting. At this point, before your ISA takes off, you're selling 4 to 5 houses a month, 6 houses a month. You know, that ISA should add another 3 deals a month for you. Okay, and then our recommendation is you hire buyer's agents at that point. Right, a lot of people hire buyer's agents so early because they just don't want to take buyers out anymore. But a couple things happen. Training buyer's agents takes a lot of time, takes a lot of energy, and you want to help them. And so you do that, but you take so much time out of your own production to help them be productive that you're actually cannibalizing your own income. And then you're helping them, and instead of getting full dollars for what you do, getting half dollars. But if I have all my administrative work off the plate, if I have all my prospecting taken care of, then my pipeline will continue to grow, and I've got everything going where I can then take time to go ahead and help buyer's agents grow. And then once the buyer's agents are in place and doing what they're doing, then you can hire somebody to replace you at the listing game, and then you're just running your team. And money's coming in the door whether you're selling houses or not. It takes more time than people think, but not as long as you would think, if that makes any sense. This is what I would say to people, you know, if you want to be a real estate agent 5 years from now, you still have to be doing the things today to keep your business going. And a lot of folks, unless I've been there, you know, I've been there. I remember so I got into the business in 1998, had a tremendous amount of success, but I always had this like, this I'm not good enough feeling hanging over my head when I left the mutual fund industry. And then at the end of 2000, I had an opportunity to become a wholesaler for a mutual fund company. And so I left the real estate industry for a year and went into this job. And I was literally traveling every other week for about 1,500 miles a week driving. It was crazy. And it almost cost me my marriage. And, you know, we had one child and another one on the way. And so I remember, you know, it wasn't going to work. And so I went and get back into the real estate industry in 2001. And I didn't have a lot of money in the bank. You know what I'm saying? I just hadn't managed my money well. And so I was in a tough spot. You know, what I learned there is that you can focus on not having money in your bank and not making money, or you can focus on doing what it takes to put money in your bank account. You can't focus on both, right? So if you want to be successful in real estate, you got to do the things you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do them and do the right things in the right order. And with unerring certainty, I can say this, that all the people that have come to coach with me, that stay with me for a while, even if they were in a tough place financially where the coaching was tight, but they could still do it, as soon as they started focusing on doing the things that are related to building their business just seemed to come out of the woodwork for them. Yeah. Right? And when you focus on doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, focus on doing the right things in the right order, your business will change forever. So if anybody wants to connect with me, and I'd love to connect with them, my cell phone number is 214-334-1356. And then if you want to go ahead and check out my website, I've got a free course for people. It takes people through the 5 steps of how to overcome sales call reluctance. So they can go and get a free course, and all they need to do is go to phonesalessecret.com/go.